In this video, we are going to investigate what the star-shaped hexagram originally meant and what the true origin of the symbol is and how it came to be associated with King David of Israel. Though this symbol is popularly associated with the Jewish community, ever since the Zionist movement adopted it as its symbol, the symbol has long been in use in many cultures across the world. In fact, the physical evidence of the association of this symbol with the Jewish community is found only from 3rd century AD onwards. A stone bearing the Star of David is found in a synagogue in Galilee dates back to 3rd century. However, reference to this star is found from the Act of Apostles of Jesus' times and the exodus of Jews from Egypt. Hence, we have proof that Jews were aware of this symbol at least from the times of Exodus. According to it, this star was associated with one god called Rapan. We shall come back to this fact later. But Hindus, Buddhists, and Jains of India had revered this auspicious symbol for thousands of years. As this symbol is associated with so many religions, it should have originated a very long time ago. The fact that this symbol is seen along with the goddess Ishtar of Babylonia means that its origin is beyond 6,000 years from now. The goddess Ishtar is having a scepter in which this star is engraved. Who is this goddess Ishtar and how is this symbol associated with her? Ishtar is the Babylonian goddess of fertility, love, and war. She is the goddess of Venus. Her lover was Tammuz. These info are enough to decode her true origin. I had already established through the video who created Indus script, part 1, Easter Island connection, that Tammuz is nothing but the god Murugan of Tammuz. In fact, Tamil language got its name from Tammuz only. Thus, Ishtar is one of the Babylonian versions of Valli, the consort of Murugan. Valli is a green goddess of love and fertility and the goddess of agriculture too. She is one of the 7 conceptual female deities that Murugan created, and they were called angels in the ancient Middle East. Hence, the Babylonian version of Valli is Ishtar, and that she possessed the scepter with the star means that the scepter originally belonged to Murugan, who was the king of ancient Lanka. Thus, this star was originally associated with god Murugan. Proving that our inference on the star is correct, Murugan is called Arumugan or Shanmuga according to Tamils and Hindus respectively. This name for Murugan originated from the 6-faced star that we are talking about. Why should he be associated with this star? I had already published a video on Kumari continent, popularly known as Lemuria. In that, I had established that Murugan lived through the deluge that happened about 10,000 years ago. He, along with the survivors of the deluge, migrated to ancient Lanka. To preserve the fact for the posterity that a huge population perished in the deluge, he named the submerged continent as Kumari, which is the abbreviation of the phrase, the place where a huge crowd of people perished. He also called himself as Kumaran to preserve the fact that he belonged to that lost continent. To preserve hundreds of arts, technologies, and culture that existed in the Kumari continent in the pre-Diluvian times, Murugan felt the need to replenish the lost population as quickly as possible. Hence, he advised his people to have as many children as possible. He also suggested to consume the herbs of a particular tree to enhance the fertility of his people, and the tree was later called by his name as Murugan Maram, which deformed to Murunga Maram. In the process, he also revived the Sivalingam worshipping cult as it symbolized creation. Sivalingam represents the union of male and female forces leading to creation. As Sivalingam was an ancient symbol of creation, he created an abstract form of it for the modern times that he was in. He represented Yoni, the female part, by down-pointing triangle, and the Lingam, the male part, by up-pointing triangle, and the union of these two makes 6-faced star. To preserve the fact to the posterity that it was Murugan who invented this symbol, which has 6 faces, Murugan was called Arumugam after his times, and this name means 6-faced person. This fact was symbolically represented by pictorially depicting Murugan with 6 faces. Hence, the very name Arumugham, which is one of the names of Murugan, establishes the fact that it was Murugan who invented this symbol. As Murugan lived through the deluge, this symbol should have originated about 10,000 years ago, as deluge happened at about that time. One of the viewers of my channel suggested that the name Harappa, the ancient Indus Valley civilization site, should have got its name out of Murugan. The site is called Harappan site as it is located very close to a village called Harappa. Murugan, called as Arumugham, was also called by its variant Arappan. Aru plus Appan, Arappan. Aru means 6 and Appan means fatherly force. This Arappan deformed to Harappan. I had already established that Indus script was developed by Murugan through the Easter Island connection. Hence, it is very likely that the places in the Indus civilization was named after god Murugan of Lanka. To prove it further, there are two rivers flowing in Afghanistan called as Arghandab River, Murugab River. Arghandab means R Kanda Aru. Here, R means great, Kanda is another name of Murugan, Aru means river in Tamil. There is also a city on this river called Kandahar, the name of which originated from Kanda Aru, deforming to Kandahar. Murugab means Muruga Aru, and there is a city on this river called Bala Murugab. The name of it originated from Bala Murugan, a well-known name of Murugan, meaning young Murugan. These two rivers, bearing the names of Murugan, flowing in the vicinity of Indus Valley, proves the fact that the places in the Indus Valley should have been named after Murugan. Hence, the name Harappan originated from Arappan, one of the names of Murugan. It is this Arappan that is referred to in the Act of Apostles literature. Act 7:43 refers to the star of your god Rappan. The name Arappan would deform to Rappan. Arappan, Rappan, Rappan. Thus, in the Jewish literature referring to the Exodus, the star is called the star of Rappan. According to it, a section of the Jews fleeing Egypt took this star symbol with them. Thus, it is proven by the Jewish literature itself that this star is associated with Rappan, one of the names of Murugan. Even though the Acts of Apostles suggest that the Jews brought this symbol from Egypt, the Palestinians, Egyptians, and the Jews were aware of this symbol from the times of Sumerian civilization itself. After all, the Jews migrated to Egypt, crossing the Fertile Crescent. Hence, they should have known about it from the times of Sumerian civilization itself. Knowledge of the star among the Sumerians is revealed by the Istar cylindrical seal. It pays to remind ourselves that there are hills named after Murugan, the Qumran, near the Dead Sea in Israel, called as Qumran Hills, where Siddhas called as Isanis lived in its caves. Thus, we have established that the star symbol is the abstract form of Sivalingam and it represents the divine creative force. It was created by Murugan, who lived through the deluge. Having established these facts, we shall now analyze the history of its association with King David, thus being called as the Star of David. Majority of the historians, including the Jewish historians, believe that King David had nothing to do with this star. There is no physical or literary evidence to link King David with this star. The star obviously being a pagan symbol, it is very unlikely that King David, who practiced monotheism, be associated with it. On the other hand, King Solomon is associated with this symbol. The Arabic Islamic culture preserved this fact through their coins and flags. It is called the Seal of Solomon. In fact, Solomon created new version of the star as intertwined triangles. Unlike his father, King Solomon married foreign women and practiced idolatry. Hence, he was indeed associated with the star symbol. Despite this historical fact, the star symbol is popularly called as Star of David rather than as Seal of Solomon. Why is it then associated with David, even though the King David of Israel is least connected to this symbol? There should be a deeper truth behind this fact. We know that god Murugan was known by several names in the ancient Middle East. They were Baal, Baal, Marduk, Dagan, Al-Khidr, Tiamat, Dumusit, Tammuz, Amman, Amun, George, Dragon, etc. The name Baal originated from the fact that Murugan was a great warrior. Baal, as he invented weapon called Vel. Marduk, as he created agricultural land called Marudam. Dagan, as Murugan was a seafarer. Al-Khidr, as he belonged to Kadir Kamam in ancient Lanka. Tiamat, as he was a deluge survivor. Dumusid, as he was a great sage, that is Siddha. Tammuz, a derivative of name Dumusid, but also stands for the fact that he enriched Tamil language through Second Tamil Sangam. Amman and Amun, as he created 7 female deities called in Tamil as Amman. George, as he blossomed the earth with vegetation. Dragon, as he was the first ground king in the history of mankind. Until then, kingdoms existed only on the mountains. Many more names are there for Murugan across the globe, and I have listed only the names that are found in the Middle East. But there are many more names for Murugan even in the Middle East. Rapan is one that we have derived in this video. Another name of importance is David. This English name was originally pronounced as David. In fact, the Jews pronounce it as David.
David, David, David.
Da means give in Tamil and Vid means seed. Hence, David means the giver, that is, the provider of seeds. We have already established that Murugan invented agriculture for the first time in the history of mankind. Obviously, he was called the provider of seeds. This shall be further established by the fact that the wife of Marduk was called Sarpanit and she was characterized as the creatress of seeds. Sarpanit was one of the Middle East names of Valli, the goddess of agriculture created by Murugan. Hence, Murugan was called in the Middle East as David, meaning provider of seeds. But the ancient Middle East people also knew that it was David, the Murugan, who created the star symbol. Obviously, it was called the Star of David, and the David here referred to Murugan and not King David. How did the King David get his name as David? The shepherd David was named after Murugan as David as a given name by his parents. It is like Christians naming their children as George after Murugan. The shepherd David later became the second king of Israel. Long after the times of King David, people thought that the David in the term Star of David refers to the King David, not knowing that the original David was Murugan. That's how the Star of Murugan came to be known as the Star of David, the David being the King David. Thus, in reality, the David in the Star of David does not point to the King David of Israel. Unless the history is approached through Tamil perspective, the genuine history of the world can never be found. There are so much of misconceptions in the world, and the Jewish misconception is not an exception. The world has to be looked through Tamil perspective only, and there is simply no other way. One of the earliest known texts related to Judaism, which mentions a sign called a Shield of David, is Eshkol HaKofa by Karaite Judah Hadassi in the mid-12th century CE. 7 names of angels precede Mezuzah: Michael, Gabriel, etc., Tetragrammaton protective. And likewise, the sign called the Shield of David is placed beside the name of each angel. It has an important message. It says that besides the name of each of the 7 angels, the Shield of David is placed. Why the Shield of David is placed beside the name of each angel? It's because the 7 angels were created by Murugan, and the Star of David was also created by Murugan. Obviously, the Star of David was placed beside each angel. Before concluding, I would dispel some of the misconceptions on the Star of David. The sage Murugan developed a syllabic representation of Om mantra in the form of swastika. Swastika was originally pronounced as Om. This auspicious symbol was raped when Nazi Hitler used it as a symbol of Aryan supremacy, and it became an evil symbol since then. Swastika had nothing to do with the Aryan specifically, and Hitler was not an Aryan either. This misconception was created by the early scholars like Max Muller, who was a German. Max Muller did not know that the Jews of India hid themselves as Arya Brahmins. Aryan is the name of Jews in India, the crypto Jews. But Max Muller was not aware of this fact. Extremely funny thing is that Maximiani Julia Portas, a Hitler's Nazi ideologist of France who was an anti-Semitic, came to India and married a Pakka Jew himself, the Bengali Arya Brahmin called Asit Krishna Mukherjee, thinking that he was an Aryan of the class of Hitler. She did not know that Mukherjee was a Jew. Such funny things happen due to the prevalence of misconceptions in the world due to false history. Likewise, the Star of David was originally an auspicious and divine symbol of India. But the Jews are the people who possess a great amount of occult beliefs. Hence, the Masonic Jews used this symbol for satanic worship. As this so-called satanic symbol has 6 faces, the West thought that the number 666 a devil's identity. Due to the star of Murugan, Murugan is associated with the number 6. As Murugan was also called Mummurti, representing creation, preservation and destruction, Murugan was earlier coded as 666 in the Middle East. As the Star of David attained an evil connotation after its use in occult worship by the Masons, the number 666, representing God Murugan, represented evil and Antichrist in Christianity. The Jews used Moloch for satanic worship, offering child sacrifice to it, not knowing that Moloch was actually a form of Yahweh. It exposes the level of misconception among the Jews. They are also unaware that Yahweh is nothing but Shiva. It is such a gross misconception which call the Star of David as devil's symbol. Hence, it should be learnt that the Star of David is not an occult symbol, but an auspicious and divine symbol.